Let's look at this pitch. 2026 World Cup group stage. Japan's Blue Samurai dismantles Tunisia 4-0, but the most terrifying statistic isn't the 4 goals. It's the fact that Japan recorded 0 yellow cards. It was a victory of absolute precision, athletic discipline, and pure dominance. Now, let's flip the mirror. Right across the sea lies China, Japan's deep-rooted East Asian neighbor. On paper, these two nations share almost identical cultural DNA, aging demographics, and parallel economies. Even their soccer leagues took flight at the exact same historical moment in the early 90s. But here is the million-dollar glitch. While Japan marched into the World Cup round of 32, Chinese football was taken into a black hole of total collapse. Why did two nations with the same line land on opposite ends of human achievement? Most people will tell you it's corruption problem. Not quite. Corruption is merely the fever. The actual disease is far more structural. Today, we aren't just looking at the massive gap between these two countries. They are going to unearth a hidden anomaly inside China itself, a 20 million people Western metropolis that might just crack the code to replicating the Japanese blueprint. But can they survive the rout of their own ecosystem? Let's dive in. To understand the road, we must understand how Chinese football became a parasitic twin of the country's real estate bubble. Welcome to the era of golden dollar football. Between 2011 and 2020, Chinese real estate conglomerates Evergrande, China Fortune, and RNF used football clubs and giant billboards, marketing campaigns to secure cheap land and political favors from local governments. They poured an absurd amount of capital into the illusion of success. Look at the raw, mind-boggling numbers from the peak of this madness. In the winter transfer windows of 2016 and 2017 alone, Chinese top-tier clubs spent over $400 million on foreign player acquisitions. They spent more money on elite scouting during that brief window than any other league on the planet. They paid foreign stars like Oscar and Hulk Viklevichs that surpassed Lionel Messi at the time. Take the Evergrande Football Academy as an example, a massive fairytale castle complex built in Qingyuan, costing over $390 million to construct and maintain. It was built on the premise that massive capital injection could automatically manufacture sporting culture. But it was a house of cards. When the property market bubble burst in 2021, the funding vanished overnight. Clubs collapsed like dominoes. Heading into the 2026 domestic season, 9 teams started with negative points because of systemic financial fraud and wage arrears. A total of 13 clubs were penalized a combined 72 points and fined millions. Now let's look across the sea. In 1993, Japan was experiencing its own apocalyptic financial disaster, the bursting of the asset price bubble. Entering the last decades, real estate values were slashed in half. Yet, precisely in 1993, Japan launched the J-League, but instead of letting massive corporations buy trophies, the J-League instituted a radical policy called hometown attachment. The rule was simple but brutal. No corporate names allowed in club titles. A team could not be called Toyota FC. It had to be Nagoya Grampus. Clubs were forced to integrate with local municipalities, build cheap pitches on idle, devalued community lands, and survive entirely on local ticket sales, young academies, and local sponsorship. They forced clubs to survive entirely on local community foundations, and look at the results. J-League structural health has given them terrifying continental supremacy. In the last 3 consecutive seasons, 3 entirely different Japanese clubs marched straight into AFC Champions League finals. In the 2023-24 season, Yokohama F. Marinos battled all the way to the final, before fading to AI in 2024-25 season, Kawasaki Frontale dominated the continent to reach the final against AI Lin, and in the 2025-26 season, league underdogs Machida Zelvia completed a fairy tale run to the final against AI Ali yet again. Japan built a system where any local club can race to conquer Asia. China built a system where billionaires rented trophies until they went bankrupt. Let's talk about the raw data that exposes structural failure at the bottom of the pyramid. On paper, China's administration of education boasted tens of thousands of specialized football schools, claiming millions of kids were participating. But in reality, it was peak bureaucratic formalism. Schools literally forced children to stand in lead roles and perform synchronized football aerobics without the ball ever touching the ground, just to fulfill political quotas for inspections. The real blood-stained data published by official state media like Xinhua News Agency exposes the terrifying truth of this demographic collapse. According to official reports, in 2024, Japan's total registered football player population reached a staggering 830,000. China, with over 10 times the population, had a total registered player count of just 530,000. When we narrow the scope down to the lifeblood of the future, young and teenage development, the contrast is catastrophic. Japan boasts the Young Academy and school registration pool of at least 400,000 active players. China's entire football registration population has completely tagged to less than 110,000. And where do these systems lead their talents? Look at the global football labor market in 2026. Japan has at least 15 world-class players studying regularly in Europe's elite Big Five leagues. If you add the secondary development tiers, Japan has a massive armada of at least 120 players, competing at the highest tiers of European football. And China, as of 2026, the number of Chinese players operating Europe's major leagues is exactly zero. Japan is facing one of the most severe demographic crises in human history, rapid aging and shrinking young population, yet its young football population has surged because the path is pure, transparent, and rewarding. For the recent 1-0 third and 1-0 fourth tournament finals of the All-Japan High School Tournament at the Tokyo National Stadium, the live stadium attendance was 58,347 and 60,142 respectively. More than 60,000 screaming fans watching 17-year-old high school amateurs play their hearts out. Japan created an ecosystem where playing football is a pathway to social prestige and identity. China created a system where playing football was a bureaucratic chore. Why don't Chinese parents from the middle class send their children to football academies? Are they just obsessed with exams? They are making a highly rational, game-theoretic calculation based on a total lack of institutional trust. In elite football leagues like the English Premier League, strict financial regulations like the profit and sustainability rules are enforced by independent regulators to ensure fair play. In Japan, the J-League enforces the unyielding financial audit system. If a club loses money for 3 consecutive years, its license is revoked. No exceptions, no political interventions. In China, the system was a dark market because the CFA held an absolute monopoly over player selection, tournament schedules, referee assignments, and commercial rights. With zero external oversight, the entire talent pipeline became monetized through bribery. The court cases proved that to get your kid into a young club, you had to pay a coach to get into the national team. Li charged player millions. Merit was completely divorced from performance. If you are a middle-class Chinese parent facing intense economic competition, you face a choice. Do you gamble your only child's future on a rigged, corrupt system where talent is buried unless you pay bribes, or do you put them into civil service exam or a stable university track? The parents made the smartest choice available. They abandoned the page. In the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu, there is a profound explanation of the duality of existence. 30 spokes join in one hub. In its emptiness consists the utilization of the carriage. Chinese football failed because it was obsessed entirely with you, the tangible things money can buy. It obsessed over $1 billion of yuan in real estate investments, massive glacis stadiums, high-paid foreign imports, and superficial political reports. But it completely ignored the invisible spiritual voids that actually hold a society together. The Wu is the fair play that guarantees a poor kid from a village can make the national team purely on merit. The Wu is the grassroots trust that makes a parent believe sports will build their child's character rather than expose them to extortion. The Wu is a community bond that brings 60,000 neighbors together to cheer for a local high school squad on a Saturday afternoon, and East Asian societies enter a mature post-Gulf era characterized by aging population and economic consolidation. Sports economics shouldn't be treated as an elite luxury or vanity project for billionaires. True sports culture is the ultimate preventative healthcare for an aging population. It reduces the burden on public medical systems, revitalizes dying rural towns through regional sports tourism, and rebuilds the shattered social fabric of modern urban isolation. By chasing the illusion of wealth, China destroyed its football. By building the invisible foundations of integrity and community, Japan conquered the world stage. The scoreboard doesn't lie. It never did. But wait, is the Chinese football ecosystem completely dead? To find a spark of life, we have to travel deep into southwest China to Chengdu. Welcome to the Phoenix Mountain Stadium, where over 40,000 fans gather every single match day, creating an atmosphere that looks identical to Europe or South America. Over the past 3 seasons, Chengdu Rongchen FC seemed to have engineered a localized miracle, while the rest of the Chinese Super League was collapsing into bankruptcy. Chengdu built a fortress. They finished third in 2024 and made history by marching into the 2025-26 Asian Continental Stage through the AFC Champions League 2. But don't be naive. If you think Chengdu is a pure, untainted savior, you don't understand Chinese political economy. Let's peel back the corporate curtain. Chengdu Rongchen is backed by the Chengdu Xinchen Investment Group, a massive, state-owned municipal local government financing vehicle for years. Pundits claim this state-owned capital structure made them safe from the real estate apocalypse. As we speak, Chengdu is drowning in its own legal and financial quicksand. Public court documents reveal a barrage of active lawsuits regarding systemic wage arrears. International player agents have officially filed complaints against Chengdu with FIFA. Reports expose that the club has systematically withheld wages from departed foreign players and coaching staff, openly declaring their intent not to pay even the newly appointed 2026 head coach. Australian legend John Aloisi is a product of financial tragedy. Aloisi is the hero of Australia's golden generation, who won the A-League championship only became available because his previous club, Western United, was completely delicensed due to its own financial collapse. Look at their squad structure and the national team pipeline. On the surface, Chengdu looks like national team factory. boasting star power like Wei Shihao and Kan Yong-jen. But let's look at the bloodlines. Wei Shihao and Kan Yong-jen are high-priced missionaries, both from the remnants of Golden Dollar era. The true local products are real oasis flowers. Thanks to their joint academy network with local centers and public schools, they managed to manufacture real, organic talents. Goalkeeper Jian Tao and dynamic fullback Hu Hetao, who fought his way directly into the senior national team roster. They even produced Mbibula Nur Haj, the 2024 Chinese Young Golden Boy. But look at the systemic pathology. Despite his immense talent, Mbibula was suddenly removed from the first-team roster, demoted back to the Young's Academy, and sent by the local football association to participate in political re-education museum tours, rather than playing competitive times on the pitch. If Chengdu wants to survive this systemic rot and learn from the world's best, they shouldn't learn from Urawa Red Diamonds, the anticipated titans of the J-League. Urawa Red Diamonds represents the gold standard of large metropolitan football economics. They generate millions in organic revenue directly from their massive, fiercely independent fan base, meaning they can survive a national economic downturn without relying on local government financing or corporate bailouts. Chengdu has successfully replicated Urawa's stadium fire, but Urawa operates under the J-League's acclaimed rule. 3 consecutive years of financial loss results in immediately license revocation. Can Chengdu genuinely close the gap with the world stage? The feasibility is there, but the optimization required is painful. Chengdu must immediately decouple from opaque municipal seed funding and transition to absolute, hyper-transparent market independence. They must fix their broken global credibility, clear their FIFA disputes, and protect their academy talents from bureaucratic and political interference. Chengdu has proved the raw passion of Chinese citizens is still alive. They built the You, the magnificent packed stadium, but until the entire nation's sporting infrastructure repairs the Wu, the invisible space of contract integrity, transparent financing, and systemic trust, Chengdu remains a beautiful, tragical mirage, a solitary flower trying to grow inside a poisoned well. Let us look at one final, heartbreaking image to close this East Asian League. On June 30, 2026, on the grandest stage of the World Cup, Japan's Blue Samurai stood on the absolute precipice of a historic miracle. They held a magnificent lead over Brazil at halftime, but in the final, dying seconds of stoppage time, football's ultimate titans delivered a ruthless, agonizing equalizer and a sudden death winner. When the final whistle pierced the night, the Japanese players wept open tears of devastation. Number 7 Tanaka, whose singular split-second mistake indirectly led to the deciding goal, was completely broken, sobbing uncontrollably on the turf. But then, a moment of profound sporting transcendence occurred. Brazilian forward Matheus Cunha, Tanaka's fierce competitor in the English Premier League, walked over. He didn't just shake hands, he put the weeping Japanese midfielder into deep emotional embrace, whispering directly into his ear, "What you did for your country today was truly magnificent." In the post-match press conference, Cunha looked at the global media and declared, "Right now, Japan is one of the best teams on earth to me." It's no longer just about Japan's pristine football culture. Today, every single elite squad in the world looks at Japan with absolute, unyielding respect. This is what absolute success looks like. Respect cannot be bought with real estate conglomerates or a $400 million transfer splurge. It cannot be manufactured by superficial bureaucratic quotas or synchronized football aerobics. True respect is earned in the dark through decades of unyielding structural integrity, grassroots trust, and institutional honor. As Chairman Mao Zedong famously wrote, "In man's world seas change into mulberry fields. The retrospect of human existence is paved with vicissitudes." Japan took the painful, long retrospect of structural purity. China took the short, volatile illusion of wheels. The 2026 World Cup has concluded its judgment. The tears of the Japanese players are the fertile seeds of a future World Championship, while the ruins of Chinese football remain trapped inside their poisoned well. The carriage is empty, but the utilization is infinity. The choice belongs to history.